Hi there, welcome to our Greek Myths Flex class. This is week 1 of the Flex class, which is 10-week long class. The very first topic is the story of the 12 gods of Mount Olympus. Let me give you just a little introduction to this unit and even this particular study, this week's study. I want to share with you first a picture of current day Greece, or where it is. Here is Greece over here in Europe. It's a small area, but it was once a very large civilization, and it actually ran from the Black Sea all the way to the Mediterranean Sea, including Crete. And this civilization was developed very long time ago. So, I wonder what you already know about ancient Greece. I wonder what you know about the ancient civilization. Like people in many civilizations, the ancient Greeks told stories orally or by word of mouth. These stories usually had supernatural beings or heroes as the main characters, and the plots usually explained events in nature or taught people how to behave. In ancient times, people did not have the knowledge that people have today. As a result, these stories, which were later written down, were first thought to be factual, but it is now known that they are fictional or not true. We call such oral stories myths. I want to share with you a picture of the Olympians on their thrones. Let me see where that picture is. There it is. So here is the picture of the Olympians on their thrones. This first myth that you're going to hear is called the 12 Gods of Mount Olympus. Okay, and I want to remind you that this image shows some of the Greek gods and goddesses. And in today's story, you will hear the names of each of these gods and goddesses and learn a little about them. All right, I wonder if you can tell which one is Zeus and which one is Hera. All right, think about that as we go through this story. I want you to also take a look at a young boy and his father that we will talk about in this story. You'll hear about Cyrus and his son Leonidas, who are going to the foot races at Olympia to sell their pottery. So you will see these two people in your story as well. Okay, so listen carefully to find out the 12 main gods and goddesses the ancient Greeks worshipped. Here we go. Let me take you to the first picture of our story. And this is it. Let's start. The 12 gods of Mount Olympus. Leonidas woke up early on the day of the foot races. Still lying in the bed, he could hear his father Cyrus outside tending the horses. He's probably feeding them, Leonidas thought to himself, and then we'll harness them to the cart and make our way to Olympia. Olympia was the site of the day's foot races in honor of Zeus, the leader of all the Greek gods and goddesses. Leonidas and his father would take their pottery to sell to the people at the races, and when they had sold all they could, they would watch the races. Leonidas knew that if he asked, his father would tell him again how the gods and goddesses came to be, and why he and the other Greeks honored them with races, festivals, and feasts. It was his favorite story, and he loved to hear his father tell it. But first, Leonidas had to get out of bed and get dressed. Otherwise, he wouldn't get to hear that story or see the races at all. After breakfast, he went outside to help his father, Cyrus, who had just finished harnessing the first of their 2 horses to the cart. Good morning, Father, Leonidas said. Good morning, son. We're almost ready to go. Will you help me harness this last horse? Leonidas nodded, and together, as the sun burnt away the morning fog, father and son harnessed the second horse. Once they double-checked that the horses were securely fastened to the cart, Leonidas and Cyrus finished storing their pottery safely in the cart. Then, taking their seats on a wooden plank at the front of the cart, they started their journey to Olympia. After they had traveled some miles down the road, Leonidas asked, Father, will you tell me again the story of the gods and the goddesses? Of course, son. As you know, we're going to Olympia for the foot races, held in honor of Zeus. Olympia is the home of an important sanctuary devoted to Zeus, where we celebrate him and the other Olympian gods and goddesses with sporting competitions. The 12 gods of Mount Olympus are the most powerful of all the gods, and Zeus is their leader. Of course, Mount Olympus is actually far away, but this is a beautiful valley, beloved to them and perfect for the games. Their cart went over a bump, and Cyrus turned around to check their waves briefly before continuing the story. These gods and goddesses can sometimes be just like you and me. They can feel happy or sad, jealous and angry, or generous and loving. Unlike you or me, they have special powers to control things like the seasons and the weather, when and where there is war, and sometimes with whom we fall in love. And unlike you and me, the gods are immortal. That means they never die. Cyrus paused before continuing on with Leonidas's favorite part of the story. That's how the gods are different from mortals on earth. But do you know how to tell them apart from one another? Leonidas did know, excuse me, but he wanted his father to continue telling the story, so he said, Yes, father, but tell me anyway. Cyrus continued, saying, Well, as I said before, Zeus is the leader of all the gods and protects all of us here on earth. He has a voice like rolling thunder and controls the wind, rain, and lightning, which he also uses as his weapons. He has 2 brothers, Hades and Poseidon, and together they rule over the whole world. While Zeus controls the heavens, Poseidon controls the seas and rules over it with a trident. When he strikes the ground with his trident, the earth shakes, and when he strikes the seas with it, the waves rise up as tall as a mountain. Zeus and Poseidon are 2 of the 12 gods who live on Mount Olympus and have thrones there. Leonidas and his father came to a fork in the road and turned left. They could now see other carts ahead of them in the distance. Other vendors looking to sell their wares at the foot races in Olympia. And what about Hades, Zeus's other brother? Leonidas asked. While Zeus rules the heavens and Poseidon rules the sea, Hades rules the underworld, or the land of the dead. Hades has a helmet that makes him invisible, so that no one, friend or foe, can see him coming. Hades' throne is in the underworld, where he lives, Cyrus said. He sounds scary, Leonidas shivered. Who else lives on Mount Olympus? Well, Cyrus said, Zeus also has a sister who has a throne on Mount Olympus. Demeter is the goddess of the harvest and grain. She looks after all of the fields and crops on earth. Zeus's wife, Hera, also lives on Mount Olympus. She is the queen of the gods and goddesses and is the goddess of women's lives. How many is that? Cyrus turned and asked his son. Counting on his fingers, Leonidas said, Zeus, Poseidon, Demeter, and Hera. Just 4. Who are the other gods and goddesses who live on Mount Olympus? Well, Cyrus said, there is Hepha, Hephaestus. Let's try that again. Hephaestus, Hephaestus, god of fire and the blacksmith of the gods. Aphrodite, goddess of love. Athena, goddess of wisdom. And Ares, goddess of war. Let's try that god of fire again. Hephaestus. Hephaestus. Sorry about that. Then there are the twins. Apollo, the god of light and music, and his sister, Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. There's Hermes, the messenger of the gods, and finally Dionysus, the god of wine and the youngest of all the gods. Even though these are the most powerful of all the gods and goddesses, Zeus is the strongest of all, and it is he whom we honor today. Cyrus stopped the cart. They had finally reached Olympia. Spectators and vendors moved all around them as the athletes stretched in preparation for their races. Leonidas knew that many miles away was cloud-covered Mount Olympus, and as the midday sun shone through some of the clouds, Leonidas imagined he could see the briefest glimpse of a palace with 12 golden thrones. He has a good imagination. All right, so that is our read aloud for this particular story, The 12 Gods of Mount Olympus. If you are in the Flex class, take a look at the comprehension questions and the extension activities, and I can't wait to hear from you. See you.